starts right now. From coast to coast, the Stephen A. Smith Show starts right now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729. Excuse me, 888-729. Oh, my goodness, I'm sorry, I'm choking. I apologize. The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio and ESPN News is always here with you. I am coming at you live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin as we speak. Lots of stuff to get into today. Number to call is 1-800-8-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. The NBA playoffs are on ESPN Radio, presented by Indeed. Tune in tonight for Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals as Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks host Kawhi and the Toronto Raptors. Coverage begins at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Let me be very clear. I'll get into the Eastern Conference Finals, what we are waiting for, what we've got to look forward to. I'll get into all of that as the show progresses today. I'll get into more news about Kyrie Irving, involving the Lakers, involving the Knicks, and beyond. All of that, obviously so. Weed in the NFL, I'm going to discuss that as the show progresses today, along with Kevin Durant and obviously his willingness to go back and forth with folks debating the game of basketball over social media and beyond. First order of business, however, I got to get into is that Adam Gase, the head coach for the New York Jets, had a press conference this morning talking about the state of affairs for the New York Jets. Obviously, as you all know, within the last week and a half or so, Mike Maccagnan, the general manager, along with one of his subordinates, were relieved of their duties. Adam Gase, the former head coach for the Miami Dolphins, who took them to the playoffs his first year, but missed the playoffs the last two, who hasn't been, as far as I'm concerned, ultra impressive. I don't even know why they picked him as the head coach for the New York Jets. Nevertheless, he is there. Not only is he there, but he also has the interim job as the GM, as Christopher Johnson and the New York Jets hierarchy are conducting a search for the new general manager for the New York Jets. The belief is that Gase and Maccagnan weren't on the same page, and as a result, Gase wanted to put some stuff to bed. One of the things he put to bed was the notion of trading Le'Veon Bell, a guy that they signed to a $52 million contract, about $25 million in guaranteed dollars. Adam Gase made the assertion that it's utterly ridiculous that we're thinking about trading Le'Veon Bell. We're happy and excited to have him. He's one of the best at what he does, which is being a running back in the National Football League. He also pointed out how the coaches, the players, everybody's been excited. And he did say this, which I thought was incredibly fair of Adam Gase to say, and I do think we should appreciate that. As much as I'm not sold on him as the head coach of the New York Jets, in fairness to him, I must concede this. Adam Gase pointed out how whatever differences he and Mike Maccagnan had over Le'Veon Bell, the difference wasn't in whether or not we wanted Le'Veon Bell to be a New York Jet. What he's saying is you might have wanted him to pay less than Maccagnan was willing to pay him. Because obviously, with a hard salary cap that exists in the National Football League, if you pay one player a particular insurmountable amount of money, then what happens is it neutralizes and nullifies your ability to go out and spend money elsewhere. So Adam Gase was making a point. That doesn't mean I didn't want him. He didn't sit up there and deny that he wanted to pay Bell less than what he got. He basically said, that's it. So when you look at it from that perspective, I don't have a problem with Adam Gase's position. I think that's incredibly fair. He's trying to have as many quality players on his roster as he can possibly muster. Obviously, it costs to do that. And the more you pay Le'Veon Bell, the less will be available for others. And so you might not want to pour but so much money into the running backs position. And I think that makes total sense on the part of Adam Gase. So when he makes that point, I think we should give him a pass on that particular thing. However, having said all of that, let me be clear. I'm one of those people. I'm sold on Le'Veon Bell as a New York Jet in this respect. You don't have a real true number one receiver. You damn sure don't have another running back really to speak of. When you consider the dual threat that is Le'Veon Bell, I think he deserves that money. Let's take into account what he did the last time we saw him on the football field in the Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. Yes, you had Antonio Brown. Yes, you had Big Ben Roethlisberger throwing you the football. All of that is true. But you know something else? You had Le'Veon Bell. And yes, as my man Carlton in Tampa will religiously point out whenever he calls this show, what did you do with Le'Veon Bell? You want to win the playoff games with him. You want to win Super Bowl championships with them. Let's not sip on that sauce. But the fact of the matter is, Le'Veon Bell had 321 carries. Le'Veon Bell religiously had over 1,200 yards rushing. Le'Veon Bell had 85 additional receptions and was making a case that he was a hybrid. He was the second leading receiver on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So when I look at it from that perspective, and I think about what he brings to the table, I've got no problem with Le'Veon Bell getting the money that he's gotten from a New York Jets squad devoid of the requisite weapons to really appease and elevate the production of Sam Darnold. I don't have a problem with that. I think Le'Veon Bell helps in that category, assuming he can stay healthy and clean. So I look at it from that perspective and I say, hey, I do have a problem if, however, Le'Veon Bell isn't at OTAs or anything like that, because when you miss the entire 2018 season, you might need to be around as much as you could be around. You really, really might, particularly after you've gotten your money. I think it's incredibly important because Le'Veon Bell isn't selling you just on his abilities as a running back or as a hybrid football player. He's also telling you he's a leader. And that's why it's important. I think same thing with Odell Beckham Jr. No, it's not mandatory. It is voluntary for a reason. They shouldn't be condemned. They shouldn't be excoriated. But it should raise an eyebrow if they're not at OTAs or something like that. Because if you're Odell Beckham Jr., you were with the New York Giants. Clearly, Gettleman and those boys wanted a culture change. Clearly, they felt you compromised the culture. Clearly, they felt your mouth, your antics, etc., weren't good for their franchise, being the face of their franchise. They didn't want this to be what represented them. They didn't want you to contaminate Saquon Barkley because you saw the way Shermer raved about Saquon Barkley, not just the football player, but the professional. And I'm not saying Odell Beckham Jr. did any such thing. I'm saying he could be accused of that. Optics matter, particularly when you're in the situation that Le'Veon Bell and Odell Beckham Jr. are both in. And while I'm on that subject, let me say this. Let me call all of these brothers to the carpet, and I do mean the brothers. Le'Veon Bell, relatively outspoken, no longer with the Steelers. Antonio Brown, relatively outspoken, no longer with the Steelers. Odell Beckham Jr., antics, etc., no longer with the New York Giants. The NFL seems to be making a statement. I don't know this definitively, but they seem to be making a statement that culture matters with every franchise and every locker room. And what we don't want is a situation where we've got people willing to compromise our culture. Now, in the case of the New England Patriots, I like that argument because you win it. Why upset the apple cart? In the case of the New York Giants, what the hell have you done? You've missed the playoffs 6 times in the last 7 years. What the hell have you done? What culture? I wonder about that. Adam Gase, you just came over from the Miami Dolphins. What damn culture did you build? I'm wondering. I'm not sold. So I look at all of those different things, and it gives me cause to pause. It really, really does. When I look at the New York Giants and I see an Eli Manning, who is clearly not what he used to be, and I hear about Gettleman and these boys, I'm like, it's like they spitting in our face telling us it's raining. What y'all talking about? Eli Manning's got a lot left. We love him. Forget the underthrows and the overthrows. Forget him falling to the turf at the sight of a pass rush. Oh, no, it's a figment of our imagination. We don't know what the hell we're talking about. Our eyes are lying to us, according to the New York Giants, and specifically Dave Gettleman. Then you go out and you draft not Dwayne Haskins out of Ohio State, who damn near threw as many touchdowns in one season than Daniel Jones threw in his career. But you go out and you draft Daniel Jones, fair enough, this brother might be able to play. Because as one caller pointed out yesterday, the requisite weapons Dwayne Haskins had available to him, I think that was Carlton that pointed that out. The requisite weapons that Dwayne Haskins had available to him was entirely different and upgraded compared to what Daniel Jones had working with him. So Daniel Jones, for all we know, might be a hell of a lot better than any of us imagined. Fair enough. But we all know the real reason why Daniel Jones was taken. Cutcliffe, the coach at Duke, is also the coach that works out the Mannings, meaning Peyton and Eli. So there's a relationship that was cultivated between the Mannings and Daniel Jones via Cutcliffe at Duke. And Daniel Jones' selection was a comfortable succession process for Eli Manning. That's what I'm saying. And if Eli Manning is the consideration at age 37, clearly well beyond his prime, a shell of what he used to be, and he is the consideration, I got a problem with that. Eli Manning is a professional personified. He is first class all the way. He's a good man. He's represented the New York Giants organization in exemplary fashion. He's done more than anybody could possibly ask him to do. All fair. But Eli Manning never played for free. Matter of fact, Eli Manning was compensated quite well. Eli Manning, according to, I believe it was Forbes magazine, and this was over a year ago, had already collected in excess of $235 million as the starting quarterback for the New York Giants. Eli Manning did not play for free. Eli Manning wasn't doing the Giants a favor. He was paid to perform, and 2 times he won Super Bowls. That's more than most. And I get all of that, although I can make the argument that the defense won the Super Bowl titles for you over the Patriots, not Eli Manning. But that's neither here nor there. What I would say emphatically, however, more so than anything else, is that the selection of a new quarterback should not be contingent on the comfort level of Eli Manning. That should never have happened. And I think as a result of that, New York Giants going to find themselves in a world of trouble. And when I look at Gase, back to the Jets, and this whole Le'Veon Bell thing, I've got concerns. And I've already expressed them. So now you got, whether it's the Giants or the Jets, there's big-time concerns with football in New York City via East Rutherford, New Jersey. And it ain't the prettiest thing in the world. Make no mistake about it. But I'm going to stay with football talking about my next subject. Because while we sit here understanding the impact of a cap and how spending an exorbitant amount of dollars on one player, whether it's Le'Veon Bell or whether it was the $95 million you gave Odell Beckham Jr. the previous year with $65 million in guaranteed dollars, saying we didn't sign him to trade him, even though you turned around and traded him, Gettleman. I do understand that when you make an investment, listen, it's important. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, You get a little personal. I'm in the television and radio business. I'm in the media business per se. Okay? And I've learned this, even though I've always believed it, because my mama, God rest her wonderful soul, my mama always taught me that. Getting paid eventually is not just about how you perform. It's not just about how you will perform. It's about how trustworthy you are to represent the brand that's paying you. See, one of the problems that I have is that people want to do what they want to do, when they want to do it, how they want to do it. They want to make up their own rules and still have their hand out for somebody else's money. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Any company, any corporation, any franchise that's taking care of you has a right to ask and mandate that you capitulate to their rules and regulations. And if you sign on for that, you have an obligation to honor it or suffer the consequences. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. And when I look at it from that perspective, I have no problem with that. That's my issue with the whole we thing going on in the National Football League, which Roger Goodell addressed without really addressing it, saying he and the league office and the NFL Players Association will look into marijuana use for pain relief. I'm paraphrasing. Ladies and gentlemen, for the record, I have no problem with marijuana use for medicinal purposes. I have no problem with marijuana use for pain release. And for those who doubt my sincerity, I don't know why you would, because I know I'm sincere and I'm authentic. I don't know why you would. Let me share something with you on a very, very personal level. We all know that I'm somebody that is adamant about staying off the weed. We all know that about me. But I religiously state I don't have a problem with it for medicinal purposes. On many occasions, I've run across people who have promoted its use for medicinal purposes. So much so that even I considered it for my mom when she was diagnosed with cancer before ultimately passing away. It was not something she wanted to do. And that's why it did not happen. But if she had wanted to, I would have made sure to provide it for her. Make no mistake about that. Because you see folks talking about it all the time. And when you get to a point where you're on the cusp of termination, of passing away, desperate times call for desperate measures. But it never came to that. So when people sit there and they hear me and I'm adamant about folks staying off weed, I'm not talking about medicinal use. I never was. Because I've understood for many years, by talking to many people over the years, that it has its positive effects. And if you're an NFL player, as violent as that sport is, and you choose to use marijuana for pain release, I have no problem with that. Zero. I have no issue with that whatsoever. None. I'm talking about recreational use. I have no patience for it. Zero. I don't want to see players on the field high. I don't want to see players at an NBA game on the court high. I will never be a proponent of that. I believe the paying customer has every right to demand that they see you full throttle, not mellowed out, not sleepy, not zooted, nothing. Nothing. They should see you in peak physical condition to the best of your ability. And when I see people adamantly proposing its use for recreational purposes, you can't tell me they ain't going to come to the games high. You can't tell me that. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And I will never be a proponent of that. Now, for those of you out there who abhor professional leagues, affiliation, and partnerships with beer distributors and the like, alcohol companies, I got that. No argument here. You want to get rid of all of it? Go ahead. But I will never, ever, ever in this lifetime be a proponent of marijuana use for recreational purposes by a professional athlete. I will never do it. Not in a million years. There's no place for it. And you can't convince me that cats ain't going to be irresponsible and not show up to games high. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't give a damn whether it's basketball, football, baseball, tennis, boxing, UFC. I don't give a damn what it is. You can't convince me of it. You just can't. Now, I will say that I don't think it's fair when we have this discussion for people to just look at the NFL and NBA players, vast majority of whom are African Americans. I don't think that's fair. I mean, we got Chris Long for the Philadelphia Eagles that admitted some use. And I can assure you, there are plenty of people who are not black that have used marijuana. So let's pump the brakes on that stigma. But I'm just not a proponent of it. And I don't think anybody should be. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. That was Straight Talk Wireless, everything for less, only at Walmart. We'll get to your calls and then some in a minute. I got to get into Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys as well. Plus, I'll be talking some NBA playoff action. Plus, I'll be getting more into some NBA news that's been circulating around the league. Again, 888-SAY-ESPN is the number to call. It's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, and ESPN News. Hey, people, I'm here to tell you about Zelle. A quick and easy way to send and receive money right from your banking app. Not sure what to get someone for their birthday, graduation, or housewarming? How about sending them money with Zelle, a truly one-size-fits-all present, so they can buy whatever they want? The money goes directly into their bank account, typically within minutes if they are already enrolled with Zelle, so they don't have to wait long to spend it on the perfect gift for themselves. So look for Zelle in your banking app or get more info at ZellePay.com. Terms and conditions apply. With the Vivid Seats app, it's easy to find awesome seats to any game. Go to the App Store or Google Play and download the app and enter promo code CHAMPS at checkout to get 10% off your first order. Don't buy just any seat. Get a Vivid seat.